How's everybody doing today? All ready for this? It's been a great 2 days. Very excited about being here. And I thought that was a really fun way for us to kick off and kind of culminate what has been a very, I would say, energizing and very, stressful to some extent year. But we promised Zerto 7 last year, and we delivered it last month. Really helping bring together and complete the IT resiliency platform, the promise that we had made back last February, that we're going to converge DR and backup to really change the game. We're not chasing what other people are doing or trying to do checklist items. We're trying to change the way that you do IT resilience and bring you one simple, scalable platform to use. So let's talk about our vision a little bit, kind of go back to where we were and where we go from here. So as you know, our vision is for a single, simple, scalable IT resilience platform, one that combines disaster recovery, backup, cloud mobility, migration, orchestration, and analytics to give you ultimate control and operational efficiencies. Really to bring this all together so that you have complete control in one simple, easy-to-use platform. And how did we deliver on that? I would say that a lot of what we wanted to do and what we have been doing really is to bring this architecture to life. We'd had a lot of these great pieces before. We had the engine, the best engine in the country or in the world for continuous data protection, really focused on bringing together application consistency, being journal-based, which gives us capabilities that nobody else can touch, and really paying it out with long-term retention. We try to bring this all and keep innovating every release. So obviously, long-term retention wasn't the only thing we brought out in Zerto 7, and we'll kind of go into that a little bit more. But we also improved upon our orchestration. Really, that gives you the ability to steer where your workloads go, be it on-premise, premise-to-premise, up to one of our managed service provider, cloud service providers, or up to the public cloud, bringing you the ultimate flexibility for what you want to do. And then wrapping all around that, analytics and control, so that you have the visibility to be able to go and make those changes. And we're going to talk about some exciting stuff that we're doing in that realm as well. But really, ultimately, we wanted to bring you one platform with one license to protect, place, and retain your data, because that's ultimately what you're trying to do. As we saw with Phil from IDG earlier, really trying to bring together and place your data is really important. And not everybody does the best job of it, but we can always do better. And what we're trying to do is be that platform that you can build upon. You can build your operational efficiencies. You can build that resiliency into your systems. So ultimately, my job, the job of the engineering team, the job of Zerto is to make the tough stuff easy. Really transforming and helping you protect your data in a much easier way to do that. That way, you spend less time doing the tough stuff and doing it all through our automation and our orchestration and our platform versus trying to script things together or kind of, taking, as I said, I think a couple years ago, a bag of doorknobs and trying to piece them together and saying when all you want is one doorknob for one door to open it up and unlock that potential. So what we're going to do is really kind of jump into some of the product innovations that we brought out, kind of take it a deeper level, because like I said, we didn't only converge DR and backup. We did more than that in Zerto 7. So we'll take a little bit of a recap on how we're bringing this all together and dive a little bit deeper. First, we will drop into long-term retention and some of the capabilities that we brought out. And I think one of the great things about this is really looking a little bit deeper into what does it look like. Hopefully you've gotten a chance to go up to some of the labs, or you've stopped by our expert bars over here or the product table to ask questions about long-term retention, really covering not just the short term, but your long term in one elastic journal. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up Gijsbert, one of our tech evangelists, to actually give us a view into this, because it's a little bit better if you actually see what's going on versus just hear me ramble on about it. So, Gijsbert, if you want to come up.
Yes, thank you, Rob. So, largest demo ever. So I'm going to walk you through some of the new stuff in long-term retention, or with regards to long-term retention. One thing our existing customers might notice: new UI, a lot cleaner. We moved the navigational pieces all the way to the left, but we still maintain the same information you're used to. Still VPG, still the sites, still finding that information that's really important to you and your protection. Now, one of the coolest new features, at least to me, is we have now analytics. A piece of the menu, you click it and it opens up directly. So you can really dig into the reporting capabilities, do some troubleshooting, et cetera, et cetera. But we've even went further. You can go into a VPG and go to the historical data and start doing those reports on RPO data, throughput, bandwidth, and open up directly analytics as you click it. So it's really integrating those different components. Now, if we take a look at LTR specifically, the first thing we need to do is actually set up the retention targets. So the LTR targets. What we have to do is actually go to the target site, configure a repository. Now, there's multiple ways to do it, but I already configured one. It's an SMB share, and I can use that to store the long-term retention copies on. But we've added more. We added support for purpose-built backup appliances. If we actually add a new one, I can select from different options. We've got HPE Store 1s, Dell EMC Data Domain, other deduplicated storage, and we really optimized the way we actually integrate with those devices. We optimized it specifically so you can get the best purpose-built backup appliance experience. Now, we added support for NFS and SMB, so you really are able to use those generic ones or the purpose-built backup appliances you have. Now, if I actually dig into how do we protect our applications, we can go into the VPGs and really go through what we added from a long-term retention policy perspective as well. So we're opening up this VPG settings. First of all, everybody knows the journal, short-term retention, more of that SLA-focused, SLA-based protection, RPOs in minutes and seconds, and you can configure the journal history to be minutes, hours, or days, up to 30 days. So this is really that short-term retention piece of the Elastic Journal. Moving into long-term retention. Only thing I have to do, enable it. Then I choose the repository, but I can also index my VMs. As soon as I start storing VMs for a longer and longer amount of time, I might actually want to dig into the information, dig into the files, and find where my files are. So you can opt in to those files. To the file sync, actually, the file index. Now, this is where I set up my retention schedule. I can do dailies, weeklies, monthlies, yearlies. I can even go into the details of it, select the days I want to enable and run that retention process. And as soon as I click done, it will start that retention process on the schedule based. Now, of course, what is storing it somewhere else if you can't recover it? So let's dig into some of the recovery options we've done. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search for a file using index and search. And actually, the architecture behind it is pretty cool because it's using Hadoop type of technology as well. So if you go to retention status, you'll see all the retention jobs you have running for the VPGs you have configured, the amount of retention points you have already. So there's 2 in here right now. You can see it for VMs, my virtual protection groups, really giving you the visibility of that configuration. Now, if I want to recover something, we're doing that on the recovery side because that's where all the magic is happening. That's offloading your production side. We don't impact the performance anymore. I go to Actions, quickly select Search and Restore, and this is where I can start searching for those files and restoring those files. I can determine the time span I want to search in. So right now I'm going to search in a VM. It's VM-based. And I'm going to search for Zerto, of course. Really important documentation on there. I want to make sure it's protected in the best possible way. search for those files. It finds all the files that contain Zerto. If I open it up, it will actually show me all the retention points this file is in. And I can start to restore workflows right from this wizard. Now, talking about restore workflows, let's look at some of the restore workflows we built in. First, go to Actions again, really easy, click Restore. Simply select the VPG I protected. Couldn't be easier. Select a VM. One VM in this one. Select a retention point. If there's multiple VMs, I can select multiple VMs, all of them. And then start configuring the recovery settings. Now, because we have automation built into it, we still stick to boot order. I can still change the volume configuration. I can make sure that it's not powered on or powered on upon recovery. So you can see, click open the volumes. If I want to, I can go from thick to thin, depending on my storage type. Simply click Next. All that's left to do is hit that Restore button. And that was actually my demo for now. So back to you, Rob. Thank you very much.
So some really exciting stuff. I think, again, what we're really about is delivering. I like to under-promise and over-deliver on things. And I think, again, it's nice to hear from me about what was going on. But, thanks again, Heisberg, for showing us that. With that, I'm actually going to welcome up Mike Weisbrot, sorry, I messed up your name again, but from UW Health. And I got to say, it's great having customers that are really partnered with us to help us on this journey. Mike and UW was really instrumental in giving us feedback on the long-term retention. But let's learn a little bit more about UW. So let's roll a little video.
This is where great things happen, where technology and discovery beautifully intertwine with compassion and care, where patients with the most serious of conditions come for the most successful of treatments. This is where you'll find some of the brightest minds in medicine, changing people's lives for the better. This is UW Health. And yes, this is where great things happen. UW Health. Remarkable.
It doesn't hurt.
Thank you. Thank you.
It doesn't hurt that your colors are red also. I know that's a Wisconsin Badger thing.
Go Badgers.
Go Badgers, right. But so I thought it was really important to have Mike up here. We're going to kind of talk through some of their journey and some of where they are and where they're going with their journey with Zerto, and kind of talk to some of what their environment looks like. So why don't you kind of give us an idea about your environment here and what it looks like today.
Yeah, so UW Health is an academic medical center, a teaching hospital for the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health. We're regionally based out of Madison, Wisconsin. We stretch across some of Illinois as well with some acquisitions. We have about 3,000 virtual machines that we support today and almost 11 petabytes of data that we manage. And that data is made up of research data, electronic health record data, our general compute and storage information, and our PACS enterprise imaging environment.
Great. I mean, as a lot of people in, healthcare is one of the bigger verticals that we see Zerto being used in. We have a lot of our healthcare customers here in the audience today as well. And I think it's really interesting to see that just the scope of a regional even from that perspective. And when you start to look at it, why don't you kind of give us an idea? I thought it was moving here. There we go. Of how things look today, and then we'll go into where you want to go with your.
Yeah, so let me back up just a little bit. I was brought into the University of Wisconsin Health 3 years ago, and 3 years ago we had a very complex environment. We had 9 different storage arrays, 5 different data centers. We were backing up with like 3 different tools. We really didn't know which or where the data was going half the time, and we knew we needed to do something to fix that. So we knew we needed to consolidate. We knew we needed to simplify. We knew we needed to automate and orchestrate some of these processes, and then we had to go back out to the organization and educate them on what we actually could do to protect this data. So that's what we did. We started consolidating. We decided to take those 5 data centers down to 2 data centers, co-located, and we started migrating data, and we were doing it manually. And we were doing it manually for a while, and I found out today it's because I wasn't returning my Zerto sales rep's call for about 6 months. And I apologize for that, Jared. But then we were introduced to Zerto, and we brought them in, we told them what we were trying to do, and they just sped up the process. So now we're down to 2 data centers, primary and secondary. We're protecting our tier 1 and tier 2 applications, which are patient critical and business critical, protecting those with Zerto, and then we're backing up with some other tools at the moment.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, the case with a lot of customers. I think as we only came out a month ago with Zerto 7, we look forward to some of the feedback you'd given us, because kind of you'd talked about this is kind of your vision of where you want to get to.
Yeah, that's correct. So with all those tools, again, with the effort of consolidating and simplifying, getting down to a smaller number of tools that you manage, different interfaces, portals that you have to log into, whether it's the storage or the compute environment, having that one window into where your data is and how it's protected is our long-term strategy. We are still an on-prem shop. We're hyper-converged with the Nutanix platform, and we do have goals in the future to lower our footprint in the secondary data center and start to consume public cloud resources.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for sharing with us. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you later on.
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks. So I think, again, when we look at things and we're looking at how we bring this together, what are the differences that we bring to bear that are uniquely Zerto, is the fact that you really have an agentless and native continuous data protection. You have the journal to give you that really 0 backup window, because you're doing it on the target side. You're not consuming the resources on your production, and really giving you that full application protection. I think when we were talking about this yesterday, when Zeev was on stage, and you get that compliance call from 4 years ago, and you have to go bring back an application. Having sat where you are some 20 years ago, I did get that call. I used to get that call from the SEC based on the company I worked for, and they would say, you need to bring back that application and look for the words market timing inside of that server from X number of years ago. And that used to be 70 or 80 tapes that you have to bring back. It was painful, to say the least. But being able to use our long-term retention to be able to go and protect an entire application. So instead of just bringing back a SQL server and building out the infrastructure around it and trying to guess how it all worked together, you bring it all back at once. Bring the entire virtual protection group back. That is a game changer for many of our customers, and we see that as being unique in the industry as well. So let's go into some of the enhancements that we're going to be making. So this is a little bit looking out into the future, looking towards Q3 and the shipping of our long-term retention. And so we're going to make some new enhancements to our target repositories. We're doing deeper integration with HPE's Store Once by adopting their dedupe, source-side dedupe API called Catalyst. So you'll start to see us doing more with that over time. This is the first entree into that, where we're doing deep integration with a particular vendor, but it's really, I think, a key to what we're doing. In addition to that, we'll be bringing out official support for Azure Data Box. We made some announcements and we've been working with them. We'll actually be releasing this on top of 7.0. It'll be one of our updates in the coming months here, and we'll be bringing that out. So if you want to take your backups to the cloud, if you're looking, maybe you're all on-prem today, and you're looking for a way to step into doing your backups to Azure, we'll give you that way. We'll also be looking at gateways for tape. We know that in some countries and some regulatory environments, tape is still needed. And as Phil was saying earlier, you might want that air gap as well. And we know that, and we understand that. And we're looking at some cloud native and object-based storage platforms as well. Those may be a little bit further out, but those are the directions that we're going in. We want to give you ultimate choice for where you put your data. It's very important to us. We're not a secondary storage device. We don't want to be a secondary storage device. We'll let you drive the economics with your vendors of those different secondary storage devices. We're a software company. And as everybody knows, I'm pretty adamant about being a software company and not going into the hardware business. So with that, let me kind of peel back the onion a little bit further on Zerto 7 with some of the cloud mobility. And I think that when you start to look at where we're going, we really do truly believe in choice and freedom. The freedom to choose which cloud you use, if you need to change clouds, go between clouds, be native in those clouds, be it from our cloud service provider partners, Azure, AWS, IBM, whichever way you want to take it, that's exactly how we want to provide the orchestration, automation, and mobility of that data for you. So what did we do? Well, we really improved the scale, performance with deep integration. And a big piece of that around Azure was the utilization, native utilization of scale sets. Why is that important? Some of our customers who were early adopters of the Azure platform and our platform, no, you had a ZCA, a Zerto Cloud Appliance, and you might get 40 or 50 VMs to one instance in there. But economically, then you start to scale that out to hundreds of VMs, and you are now managing a whole bunch of these instances. So we wanted to make it a lot easier for our customers to deploy less of those ZCAs. So by utilizing Azure scale sets, and this kind of shows where we're going here in the future, we actually delivered the promotion portion of this in Zerto 7. With 7.5, we're going to complete the story, give you even higher levels of density per ZCA or ZCA, and allow you to accomplish those recovery time objectives you're looking for into public cloud, near what you'll see on-premise for very large workloads. We think that this is game-changing. It's something that our competitors aren't doing, and it really changes the game because we're actually, again, focused on not only building into Azure and getting into Azure, but how do you truly run there once you're there? How do you transform into an instance so that you can actually be usable there? That's really important to us, and we're going to continue to look at the platform by platform, and use those native capabilities where we can, like scale sets. Also, we have some APIs for automation. So for our cloud service provider partners that are partnered up with Azure, we will be delivering in our next update, in our update 2, which is in the coming months, we'll be delivering APIs for integration and automation around creation of virtual protection groups in Azure. And we'll be doing some integration in 7.5 with Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, for added security and enhanced identity management. But I haven't forgotten about the other guys who are up in the corner. We're also doing some with AWS. We're also bringing out support for and have support for encryption at rest. We'll be also adding IAM, or Identity Access Manager. That will help for the security aspects of that as well. And one really neat thing that we'll be doing is if you've ever used our product to go up to AWS, maybe you have a RHEL system that needs a driver installed once it's up there. We'll actually be automating the installation of those drivers in flight while you're going and recovering into AWS. So now we once again make the tough stuff just a bit simpler by helping you with some really unique technology that we're able to do. actually, go back. And with that, I'm actually going to invite Gijsbert back on stage. Almost forgot about you. And he's going to actually give you a quick preview of Azure scale sets.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rob. So we're going to look a little bit at the Azure skill sets right now. So I've opened up Zerto. I've got replication going on to Azure. Of course, I've got the Azure portal open as well, because I really need to dig into that Azure portal, because for our end users, nothing actually changed. So it's still the same process, but a lot is happening in the background. So what I'll do right now is I'll start and initiate a failover of a VM into Azure. And what we're going to look at is actually what is happening in the Azure portal, so how we scale using that deep integration. That's a big click. There we go. So now if we look in Azure and we're searching for the skill sets, so we're actually zooming into the skill sets. Now, I'm aware that all of my services are running in Western Europe, so I'm going to filter on Western Europe. And it shows me the skill sets. Now, skill sets are basically a set of virtual machines that can scale based on certain parameters. So right now, there's my default instance running. And as soon as we need, we'll actually start spinning up more and more instances. Now, as the failover progresses, we actually start to do it. Because what happens is, we're actually watching at queues. And as you can see, it's updating right now. Why is it? Because I'm doing that failover. But we're looking at queues. And if messages get into a queue, we'll start scaling out. It's as simple as that. Now, if we're going to look at that skill set, we're going to monitor it a little bit and actually see that those skill sets, those machines, those workers as we call them, are being created. So we're actually scaling up from 1 to 11 right now. Why? There are messages in that queue, so it needs to scale. All happens automatically, as I heard someone say yesterday. So now as you go into these settings again, we'll also make sure that we clean up after it's done. We don't want to have those instances up and running. So as soon as the failover is done, we'll actually, again, use those queues. And if those queues are 0, empty, we'll automatically scale down. So it's really cost efficient as well. I'm really using that scale of the hyperscalers, really doing that deep integration with them. Now, as you will see, is as soon as the failover is done, you'll see them deleted. So this really visualizes the way we integrate with Azure right now. And really using the capabilities of Azure to deliver that same easy end user experience. Because again, people knowing our product see that nothing has changed. It's still the same. The only thing that we made easier is actually scaling. Using it, still the same end user experience. And as you can see, I'm going to refresh it once more. They're deleting now because the failover is done. So I'm actually initiating a rollback right now. We don't need the failover after all. Everything's up and running again. Again, one simple click and we're back at where we were. So thanks a lot. This was Azure skill sets. Take a look at it in our labs as well. Back to you, Rob. Thank you.
Thanks, Gijsbert. Really appreciate it. Again, I think it's neat to see that in action. And again, how do we go and simplify things for our customers? How do we keep making the tough stuff simpler? That was really innovation brought out of our dev group. And they took their time looking at different architectures to go and do that. And we have more plans for this type of technology in the future as well. So with that, let me kind of go into a little bit more on our core platform and some of the orchestration. So in the core platform, as you know, we had enhancements to the VPGs, the VRAs, and the journal itself by allowing more to happen around the VPGs and more stability around the system in general. So I think a lot of you had seen that we have a new thing out there for evacuate host. When things go into host maintenance mode, that was actually driven by customer requests. So hopefully you're starting to see a number of these new initiatives that are coming out straight from what you guys are looking for. And we haven't forgotten about this. We may have talked about long-term retention, but it was actually about 15% of what we built into Zerto 7. So there's a whole lot of good stuff in Zerto 7 beyond just the long-term retention that really completes out the platform, because we keep on enhancing it as well. So that's great, but what are we going to do now? Where do we go from here? Well, we have some really exciting stuff going on. As Zeev kind of announced yesterday, we joined VMware's VIO program, or VAIO program. And a lot of this was to really bring the flexibility to make sure that we supported customers as they started to utilize new features from VMware. And it's a big starting point for us. It's going to take multiple releases for us to get this where our core product is. But it's one of these things that we're starting down the path, and we've made some great progress. For 7.5, we look to actually bring this out on top of 7.5 and bring you a VIO version. And that will help you with things maybe you're interested in, things like secure boot. And you're looking for that. You have a very secure environment. This now enables you to go and do that. With that, I'm very happy to announce that we have Mike Adams here, who's the Senior Director of Cloud Platform Product Marketing at VMware. So welcome Mike to the stage. Thanks.
Thanks.
So what I wanted to do is we'll have a little conversation here, because I think, people have always asked me, they're like, oh, why VIO?
Right.
And I think that, to me, it was really important to have you standing here on stage.
Yeah.
Because we look at VMware as a strategic partner to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zerto's been a TAP partner, a technology alliance partner with VMware since 2010. So excited about where things have gone and providing the best availability and IT resiliency.
Yeah.
And for VIO, for those of you not with your acronym dictionary today, it's the vSphere APIs for I/O filtering.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do was come up with a way to basically make sure the I/O that was running from the VM to the disk could be intercepted, put through a filter stack, and in this particular case, solve a unique use case around replication, right? So that we understand and we're better tied in with what you're doing, and you better understand what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see the things that you're building on top of VIO. I think that some of the integrations that you have, some of the capabilities that it will be able to enable us to provide to our customers, and really align our roadmaps as well.
Yeah, and two of the big pieces that we're showing were around secure boot. So for those of you with UEFI-enabled hardware, having the ability to make sure we check every level of the stack as it boots up and make sure exactly what we said was going to happen happens. That's a key piece.
Yep.
And then the second piece is with the storage policy-based management framework, you have the ability to see that Zerto is going to be utilized as part of this overall storage policy. So that's a pretty key integration point in my mind, and I think customers are going to really love it.
Yeah, and if you're interested in the secure boot, we actually have an animation in the product expert thing over here that you can go and see, and we can run you through kind of an animation of what it will look like pre and post VIO implementation, so that you get a better understanding of what we were just talking about. Because it's really neat to understand that there are things that are going to come out from VMware that are going to be at a different level within the your software. You own the stack.
Absolutely.
So I think this has really been exciting for us. I think, again, really strengthening that partnership has been a lot of fun. I think also where you guys are going with cloud and
right.
some of the initiatives you have with people like AWS and things of that nature.
Absolutely, yeah. So hybrid cloud is key to our story. So, taking this, for what we're doing on-prem, we want to enable, capabilities like this at a per VM level. We want to do some isolation capabilities, and then obviously extending it to the cloud. And so we look forward to taking that from on-prem and into the cloud and working together to provide IT resiliency.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to working with you guys on this. It's been a lot of fun so far, and we know it's going to be even more fun as we go on this journey together. So,
absolutely.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, if you didn't get the date, it was 2010. We were a TAP partner, and we had to actually go back and look at and find the actual emails. Zeev and I sat there and went through and figured out exactly what the date was that we signed the TAP partnership. And I think it just shows that over the years, becoming more strategic and leveraging more of the platforms and more of the platform capabilities, it really is the mantra that we want to work collectively with people like VMware and Microsoft, AWS, IBM, and others to really have deeper levels of integration. That makes it a lot easier for you to operationalize it. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about analytics. This is one of those products that I think a lot of people get a significant amount of value out of when they start to go and use the call home data. They go into My Zerto and take a look at it. And I think one of the neat things that you'll see and is probably one of the biggest enhancements that we've put out there recently is being able to see the site-wide storage reporting and the analysis and planning that this allows you to do. Hopefully you caught some of the analytics workshops that were going on. I know there were some exciting ones on how to do troubleshooting and other things around this. There's actually one later on today that I'll plug in a minute. But I think, again, it's a lot better to see this stuff in action than to hear me sit here and talk to you about it. So I'm going to invite Gijsbert back up on stage here to actually give us a little bit of a tour through it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. You didn't forget me this time. So let's take a look at the storage planning piece of Zerto Analytics. Now I've got two sites set up, Boston, Amsterdam, so we're replicating between them. We've got a couple of VPGs going back and forth. You could also see it actually on the nice topology screen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to the top right and go to storage. Now this is where I can see the site-wide report on all of my data stores. So I can see exactly how much is being consumed by the journal, by the protected volumes. I have different sites. I have a protected site, I've got a recovery site, and this is actually the protected site you see right now. So I can exactly see what is being used, what's being provisioned, what is the VMDK name, and that they are protected, of course, which VPG they're part of. Now I switched to the protected site because now I can actually zoom into the protected storage usage. So let me zoom into one of those data stores, and actually, as you can see, we don't only list the volumes for the VMs, but also what we use from a storage perspective for our appliances. So all the V arrays are in there as well. As you can see, I can see the recovery volumes, I can see journal usage, so this is really neat when you want to size for it. But one other cool thing we have built in is the fact that whenever you do a failover test, and it's all the way down, we also list those scratch volumes. So you can really see what you're consuming during your failover test and use that to do longer failover tests and extending the time you can do your failover tests. Now, going from the site-wide, I can actually click straight through to the VPG. And in the VPG, I can list all the volumes we're protecting, we need for recovery, the journal, the scratch per VM. So I can actually go back to a different VPG right now and list them for all of the other VMs. This really gives you the capability to see it from a VM viewpoint. So I have multiple VMs right here. Again, it's a protected disk, but also the recovery and a journal disk, all lined up and all visible into one really easy to see and use piece of Zerto Analytics. Now, Zerto Analytics itself, and I can actually switch back to those wonderful views of the data stores, but one thing that's really important in Zerto Analytics is it's cloud delivered, so we have a different release schedule. So one of the important things there, might be the most important button we have, is the What's New button. Well, keep an eye on that one because we are continuously enhancing it, and all the things that are new and cool in Zerto Analytics will be listed in the What's New feature. So back to you, Rob. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Gijsbert. Really appreciate that. I think, again, what's nice is that it is SaaS-delivered, cloud-based application that you can go in and use from My Zerto. What's nice about it also, as Gijsbert was talking about, is because it is in the cloud and it is SaaS-based, we can actually go and iterate it very quickly. We actually have a monthly release cadence where we're putting new things in there on a monthly basis. So I would check back often, as Gijsbert was telling you, that what's new, and you'll start to see new things popping up in there that you can take advantage of. One of the other things, and I'll kind of plug this a little bit, Lee Kaminsky is doing a session on Planner. This is the ability to do sizing for Azure, AWS, or on-premise VMware environments to really help you plan out better what your deployments are going to look like. This actually uses data captured. So for instance, if you're using a VMware to VMware site and you want to see, okay, what my deployment might look like in Azure, you can actually go into here and see how that plans out. See a range of ZCAs, those are the Zerto cloud appliances that I talked about before, and see that. What's neat about it is we control the algorithms underneath there, so we can actually update those as we enhance the platform. So as we went from 6.5 to 7.0, that changed when we went to scale sets. When we go from 7.0 to 7.5, it'll change again as we get apply put into there. That will update in the background and help to give you a better idea. But again, for a much deeper dive on that and a much better explanation, please go visit Lee's session. It's, I think, at 3 o'clock after this, 4 o'clock after this. Thank you. And so, but that's not all, right? We got to keep moving, keep improving. We're also going to be bringing out some VM reports, health reports, and Planner What If to help you do even more with the information. So again, helping you do more to operationalize and utilize the Zerto platform. It's a big piece of what we're trying to do here, and I think a big piece of it will also be giving you storage history. One of the things that you start to see in these reports as well is the APIs are there. So if you want to pull the data down for other operational efficiencies or to dashboard or do things, we also give you that. And it's actually in a Swagger-based API as well. So I think a lot of what we're doing is about converging into that single, simple, scalable, easy-to-use platform that is the IT resilience platform. We're going to continue on this journey as we go, bringing disaster recovery back up, doing more use cases within backup, adding to that, bringing more in multi-cloud, more around migration and helping with those migration capabilities, and orchestration, as well as more to the analytics. It's really about converging it all and bringing it to you so that it's easy to use and not confusing, and that you know you can go to a single vendor and be able to see across there. Because as Phil was saying earlier, and Lindsay and others, it's about data protection. It's really about being able to see it in one place and knowing, and we know that you've put your trust in us. So not only doing the new things, but continuing to improve on the core platform as well, as we've talked about with Mike from VMware. And I would say that when you start to see how many different use cases our customers are using us for, we have a lot of it, be it from disruptions to ransomware to migrations and cloud integration, being able to avoid those or do consolidations, maybe mergers and acquisitions. We're going to continue on these paths and covering even more use cases out into the future. So I'd be remiss, again, if I didn't go into the future a little bit and kind of, wanted to give kind of a timeline of what we've been doing. I've been meeting with a lot of you, not all of you. Since I've been here, I've tried to get to a lot of you, as many as I can, every waking hour. It's been great. And I think a lot of the feedback that I hear is you're looking for us to continue innovating, continue bringing new platforms in. So as we look out into 2020, 2019 kind of gone through, we're going to continue on that journey of converging DR and backup and bringing it stronger together, more under the platform, more performance for index and search, a whole number of different features that we'll be putting in there. As we get into 2020, that's when we start to look at the next platform. And right now, these are some of the leading candidates for that. But you are the ones who are going to tell us which one it ends up being. You're driving, your feedback is really driving where we go with this into next year to help you expand what you can cover, to give you that ultimate freedom and choice, to be able to go through and be able to pick whichever one you want to. Again, be it containers and containers infrastructure. Some of the people in here are already starting down that journey with containers and container infrastructure. In fact, some of you are actually using us to protect that the Kubernetes infrastructure to the other side. Why? Because it's complicated and hard to set up and you don't want to lose it, so you put it in a VM. We don't think ultimately that's where it's going to end. We think that there's more to do there, but we're starting to go and examine this and dig in deeper into what it means for you to go and have a containerized application. We're also looking at physical applications. I've talked about this before, but there's still some, I mean, as you saw in Lindsay's slide, Azure bare metal for SAP and SAP HANA. Why? Because it consumes a lot of CPU and memory in particular, terabytes of memory, as I read off of there. And why would you go and virtualize it? It may not make sense. And there's still some, like others like Oracle, that have licensing issues if you go and virtualize it. So there's other reasons that applications do say physical. We'll be examining and looking at how do we go after those APIs for those applications for data protection. A lot of them have some mature APIs in that space. And then really cloud-borne app protection as well. We're examining this. What does it mean? One of the neat things is we have our own cloud-based app, the SaaS-delivered analytics. So we understand some of that, but we also want to understand what you're building and how you're building these applications. So we'll be reaching out on that. Also, we're looking at things like encryption. Some of this we're actually doing through partnerships. You'll see us in 7.5 have some lightweight integration with VMware's HCX, which is doing some integration with NSX and layer 2 tunneling for doing kind of a no VPN type of solution over the vSphere stack. And we're looking at how we expand in there and what directions we drive with encryption, both for long-term retention and for the near term. As well as I said, the next cloud platform or platform as it would be, which one it be, will be between AHV or which is Acropolis or Google, and we're still weighing out those and examining them. All things that we want to get to in some amount of time here, and I think that you'll also see for our cloud service provider customers, we're looking at how do you deliver as a cloud-based app the ZCM or the Zerto Cloud Manager, and for some of our larger customers as well. That would be a SaaS-delivered version of that piece of infrastructure. We start to see that as we build more into the analytics and the control, there seems to be some common linkages there. So we're examining some of those things as well. And again, really our mission statement is to provide the best protection on Earth. I don't know where else you would provide protection, but definitely on Earth. Maybe Mars someday, I don't know. Moon sounds pretty realistic as well. Built for the enterprise, and I would say for the large enterprise and for service providers, because we really focus on this. This is key to us. The reason we're able to do the things for large enterprises is because we also have a very rich 350 plus service provider community around us that pushes us and gives us feedback on how to build that scale. And obviously, it has to be simple, real simple. I'm a simple guy. Any of you who were out drinking with me last night pretty much know that. I'm simple to get started. It's not so simple to stop. But, again, we're trying to make this even more simple as we go through. And that's why we're going to be focusing again on the user experience. So again, it's a big job that we're going after here, but we think we can do it. We have the right people. We have the right partners. You're all our partners in this journey, and I really appreciate all of the feedback that we've been giving. Please don't stop. If you want even deeper roadmaps, talk to your sales reps and your SEs. More than happy to jump on WebExes and go through things, get your feedback. That's how we go and pick what comes up next.